get situated.
Okay, no, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm not good yet. I'm not good.
Okay. All right, everybody. So today we're going to do our part 2 on how God brought us together in 3 months. We're going to be going into more detail about our family's reactions, our parents. We're going to be talking about our friends' reactions to us getting married so quickly, and then also our trip across the country. So me all the way from Indiana to California to move with Jaamal. And before we get started into the video, we just wanted to take a second to just thank everybody who watched our testimony video of how quickly we got married. We had no idea that that many people would watch it. It's just still so crazy to us to refresh our phones and just see how much the video, goes up and increases every single day, and just how many lives it's reaching. We're so grateful, and just glory to God. We were so thankful that our story has been able to just touch your guys' lives and give you guys encouragement, and just hope that your partner is still out there and that God can still do the same for you and just write your love story. So we're so thankful for that.
Yeah, I mean, the moment we hit 10,000, like, we were super excited.
Yeah.
And then obviously it just continued to go up, and we're like, oh wow, 10,000 wasn't even nothing. We hit like 5,000 more views that night. So it was just crazy. And so we're super just excited to reach that many people and tell you guys that how good God is, and He has somebody waiting for you. So we just wanted to open up with prayer before we even jump into all the other details. And I would love if you guys would just, bow your heads and just pray with us right now. Dear Heavenly Father, we just come before you so grateful that we get to spend time with the people across the screen. I pray, Lord, that you would just speak through us and allow us to give off your presence in this space, Lord. I pray that you would allow those who are hearing and watching us right now to just pick up some information, to pick up some wisdom, to pick up some knowledge on what you're doing in their own lives, Lord. To take our story and to just understand that you can do anything that you want to do in others' lives. And so I just pray that you would move through this video, and you would move in just a powerful way. It's in your mighty Son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so let's start with my family.
Okay.
We'll start with my mom and then go to your mom.
Well, we can start with your mom.
Okay, so since my mom was in Mexico with us, she was on the vacation, she kind of was on board from the jump. She got to meet Jaamal first before any of my other family members, and she really liked him. She thought that he seemed like he was just a great man. She loved, obviously, that he was Christian and had that moral, background and values to his life, and she really wanted that for me. And so she was kind of always on board. It's cool. So she was kind of always on board, but I think throughout the process she was still like, are you sure this is what you want for your life? This is a huge move. Like, you're going to be moving not only across the country, but like, you don't really know this person that well, and it is crazy, but like, I'm happy for you. I feel like it was kind of just a lot of mixed emotions, but ultimately she really trusted that, I was hearing from God and that this was from God, and just really gave me that confidence to move forward. Our family's opinions were very important to us.
Yes, definitely. Mine was a little bit different, coming from my background and just being in the space where they didn't know this woman at all. On top of the fact, I was already previously engaged, and so what was the rush? And my mom was not having it whatsoever. But even with her not being on board, I think she took so much, I don't want to say value, but I want to say she gained a lot more respect from me when I was going to tell her that, this is the woman that I'm going to marry and I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And so I hope you eventually see why I'm choosing to spend the rest of my life with this woman. And I believe you will. And I think she gained respect for me as a man to step out and go ahead and do that, even though she didn't approve of who this woman was yet, obviously, because she didn't know her. And so that was, the opinion of my family was important, absolutely. But at the end of the day, I get on my knees and I pray and I seek the Lord for myself, and I have a relationship with God for myself. And so no one sits in that God seat but God for me. I will take wisdom and wise counsel from everywhere else, and I'll take it into consideration. And I talked about a lot of that in the first video, how I had a lot of different conversations and opinions. But ultimately, when God gave me the thumbs up, I wasn't going to say no to that.
Yeah, I feel like going into it, we kind of knew anybody who gets married so quickly, you're not going to have like a ton of people for you. There's going to be just a lot of people who are like, you're absolutely nuts. Like, what are you doing with your life? Nobody can really hear what God is speaking to you but you and him, obviously. And so it was kind of like we, our parents and our friends and family's opinion and advice was really important to us, but like you said, at the end of the day, we kind of had to just trust God and trust what he was saying that he was doing for, both of us in that season of our life, and really just go for it. So my dad, on the other hand, 2 days after I got back from Mexico, I called my dad and I'm like, Dad, I just met the love of my life in Mexico. I'm so excited. Like, I know he's my husband. And, well, I might not have said husband right away. But I said, I know I just met the love of my life in Mexico. I'm so excited. He's such a great man. I can't wait for you to meet him. And my dad was like, whoa, like, slow down. And I think at first he's thinking, like, I met somebody who lives in Mexico. And he's like, wait, like, you live all the way in Indiana. Like, this isn't going to work. And so I would say at first I feel like he was just super skeptical and maybe thinking like, okay, she'll kind of get over this, or he's going to kind of go and do his own thing. Like, he's engaged. You're just, you're kind of wishful thinking at this point. Yeah. And so, I don't know. I really let my parents know from the start how I felt and like what I thought this was going to end in marriage. And so I feel like I gave them a lot of time to prep and prepare them and kind of tell them like, this is what I want, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I feel like God is speaking to me, and this is kind of what I'm gonna do. I just think it took them a while to like really like, oh, she's serious.
Yeah, I agree. The dynamic of race definitely plays, I think, a part in me coming home and telling my parents, this is what I want, this is how I believe God's leading me, and like, you just gotta rock with me on that. And that doesn't necessarily, it's not that it doesn't fly as well, but telling that to my mom and my dad first, when I told my dad, he actually thought I was nuts. But me and my dad have an interesting relationship, or a really good relationship, where if I just say, no, Dad, seriously, hear me out. I think as a father to a son, he sits back, takes off the analytical hat, and just says, okay, my son truly has something important to tell me. He really feels deeply in his heart about this, so I'm gonna hear him out. And so after hours of explaining to him how I felt about her versus any of my other relationships, not even my ex, who I was engaged to at the time, any other relationship, he was like, son, this one is different. The way you have talked about her, the way you have expressed yourself, the way you feel about this, I can tell that she's completely different than anybody else that you've ever introduced the family to. And so I'm excited for you. He truly flipped the switch within a day or two, literally within those couple of conversations that I was really pouring out my heart to him about how I felt about her. He got on board, was really the first person in California to get on board and was Team Hannah all the way. So shout out to Dad, I love you. The rest of the family's on board now, but we're gonna talk about the process of that.
Yeah, so after just months and months of talking to my parents and like telling them this is really what I want to do, I think there was a lot of hard moments of like my dad being almost like angry and not like what is she doing? I wouldn't expect her to do something like this. This is so sudden. Like, is she acting off impulse? Like, not really fully understanding the way I felt, but at the end of the day, trusting me like as his daughter and knowing that I've made pretty good decisions my whole life and really trusting my discernment. And so at the end of the day, just coming to a place where like, you're gonna kind of do this anyways. I just have to trust you and just, give you wisdom as a father and support. And so I'm really grateful for that. I feel like they didn't give me too much of a hard time for such a crazy decision that I made, and they were super supportive and just really, I don't know, gave me a lot of confidence in my decision as well. If I didn't have my dad's blessing at the end of the day, that would have been really hard for me to move forward. I think the same for Jaamal. I think it was important for us to, kind of have that confidence moving forward.
Yeah. Friends. Boy.
Okay, so my friends, I have a really small group of friends, and I would say all of them really thought I was crazy too. They were like, you just met this man, like you were in a relationship prior, like not crazy long ago. You've kind of been on this process of healing and being single, and this is just so soon. Where is this coming from? And it was kind of hard because I feel like if they're your real friends, they're gonna support you anyways, even if they think you're crazy. And it was kind of something like that. Like, over time, the more I talked about Jaamal and the more I was like, no, this is the love of my life. Like, I really feel like God is putting us together. I know that this is something from God and that I've prayed for, and I just have to trust myself and trust God. And they were more than happy for me at the end of the day, because they saw, just from how I would describe him and just our conversations, they saw how different he was than any other man in my life as well, and just how much he was stood apart and really stood out. And so I think that gave them a lot of confidence, knowing that I was changing my whole life and making such a big change for the right person.
Yeah. I think girls react to marriage a lot different than guys do.
Yeah.
So there is definitely just, I'm sure I still get crap about it today. At this point, it just kind of goes through one ear and out the other, or even over my head, and I just don't necessarily see it. But from the jump, I would say there were three guys who really sat me down in the friend group, who really sat me down and were like, bro, what are you doing? Like, let's really talk through this. And it was good, because it helped me to establish a certain direction for my life of, this is what I believe God's calling me to do, and I know you guys are still going to support me as a friend, even if things get rocky in that dynamic of, just because you guys still view me as friends doesn't mean that your other acquaintances who don't necessarily like my decision making is going to not give you guys crap about for what I'm doing. And so I knew that there was going to be a lot of backlash, regardless of how it was going to happen, whether I was going to wait to get married or whether we were going to do it right away. Because I don't think we knew we were actually going to do it right away when I was having all these conversations. We just knew that we wanted to get married. So it was a process in going into that, and just having those conversations with my friends. wasn't easy. They definitely were all of my friends were in. Yeah, she just spilled all of the chocolate chips on the couch. It's okay. All of my friends were in the church, and so having a biblical conversation about this, where is this? One of the questions I got was, where do you see this happening in the Bible? Because I don't see this happening in the Bible, and if it doesn't happen in the Bible, then this can't be God. And I looked at that friend. I don't think I said this in the moment, but I said it later. But what I said to this friend in response to that was, if you look for your exact situation to happen in your life in the Bible, then God can never do anything new in your life. You will always be looking through the lens of, how is my life going to align in exactly the storyline of the picture? God says that He's doing a new thing, and He's making a way in the desert, and making a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. Do you not perceive it? He is doing a new thing constantly, and so I had to trust that my time in my prayer closet, my journaling time, my time dedicating to ministry and just building my own personal relationship with God, that He was truly speaking this to me. And I really had to walk by faith in going into this with all of my different conversations with friends. It was a lot more, I don't want to say difficult than her conversations with her friends, but
it was definitely more difficult.
It was very, very tough. And I just think that speaks to the level of where God is taking me, because I don't think it's a coincidence that we have this many views on this type of topic, because there's probably a lot of people out there who do believe there's that one single person for them. There's that one person that God has to allow them to walk with for the rest of their lives. And that's not necessarily the popular thing today. I think a lot of people think you can just make it work with anybody if you try hard enough, and which is true. I definitely think that's true, but I think there are a lot of people who are searching for that person, and I think we need to encourage you guys that it can happen, because it happened to us when we didn't think it was going to happen.
Yeah, definitely not. I think it's also important to talk about, so Jaamal, at the time that we met, he was in ministry and he was serving at a church here in California.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those conversations that he had were people in leadership, other pastors, people that he was really close to. And so getting married to me, or telling people that he was going to marry me, also, caused a lot of those caused a lot of just issue and conflict within the church, and just me coming here. And so I'm in Indiana, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm about to move here and nobody likes me. Everybody thinks like I'm just this other woman who just destroyed this relationship, and I never wanted to be viewed as that. I knew within my spirit, like, that's not my morals or any of that. And so that was super hard to just walk into.
Which is also a good point to make, that my past relationship was on the rocks the moment I left from California to Mexico, before I met her. And on the plane, I was praying to God, and I think I briefly talked about this in the last video. I was praying to God, like, you need to show me, because what I'm seeing in my previous relationship is not the way I believe you have my life set up for marriage. Both of my parents have been through divorce, and growing up in that, I saw a lot of similarities that were taking place in my current relationship at the time. And I was like, I'm not going into marriage to get divorced. Like, I cannot do that. So help me, Lord. And again, I landed, and then boom, beautiful woman. And just like, you are my wife. And she was like, you're my husband. 3 months later, we got married. Anyways, yes, I was in ministry, and conversations didn't go well. Definitely did not go well.
I think a lot of people just had a lot of questions that were also really valid on both ends. Like, we understood going to something that is so, you know, just crazy to marry somebody in such a short amount of times. Like, it's not just going to be like sunshine and rainbows. Like, we're obviously going to go through trials. We're going to have really tough seasons in our marriage, just like everybody else. And so I think that it's hard to, you know, on this end say this is what we're hearing from God. We have to trust him. We have to move forward. And then also having that like practical side of us to where like we understood their concern. We understood our family's concern. We understood that, you know, this is going to be a lot of work and that we have to be dedicated to this if we're going to move forward.
I think that's really what helped me to move forward in this was that we both had that healthy understanding coming to the conversation of like, look, I get it. This is crazy. I completely get where you're coming from. But on the flip side of sitting through and listening to what they were having to say, it was more of them trying to convince us not to do it and not coming to the conversation with the same approach of like, let me understand where you guys are coming from. And so that piece of it, I was like, I love you guys, and out of respect, I'm gonna have to just do what I feel God is calling me to do, because you aren't meeting us with the same thing that we're giving you. You gotta watch those conversations where people are talking at you and they don't want to talk with you, because there's a complete difference. And so
I think that's one thing that looking back we would have done differently, is just been a little bit more careful about who we allowed to like let speak in our life during that season and that time, just because you know, that's what we heard from God, that's what we felt in our spirit, and we just had to walk with it. Not everybody's gonna understand, because that's not their word from God. And so I feel like if we would have done a little bit better of a job, just like, you know, maybe just keeping it within the family and not so much like everybody on the outside and trying to like, you know, have validation or whatever. Not even validation, because we already knew, but just trying to include others almost out of like respect. I think that it would have gotten us to a place where on our wedding day we might not have been like as crazy nervous and had like, you know, Jaamal's phone blowing up with siblings and mom and dad and everybody like, what are you doing? You know, like it was just a lot to take in, and I feel like it took away from something that we knew within our heart and within our spirit that we had to do and that we fully wanted to do. I mean, you know, you live and you learn, and we're still grateful for the way that it happened, for sure. But I think that's the only thing that we wish going into it, and for others going into it, we would have done a little bit differently.
I don't know. That's a tough one. That really is a tough one, because you have to decide on who is important for you to talk to outside of your family and who is not. And sometimes that line gets really awkward, because you know they're in the same friend group, and so you talk to him but you didn't talk to me, and it gets like ugh. But you have to make those decisions, because this right here, your marriage is your first ministry, and your marriage is the most important thing you'll ever do. They will birth your kids, they're gonna affect your kids' kids, and so you have to be I don't want to say cutthroat, but I don't necessarily know another better word to say it, but you just need to be more strict in that area.
For sure.
So
so I feel like that's a pretty good explanation of like what our family and what our friends think and what they felt going into our marriage. It wasn't like we're so for you guys right away, but my family really got on board when it came to the wedding day. They were excited for me. They were really happy. My dad, he gave me this beautiful necklace that I wear every day, and I love it. And he just made that day super special for me, along with my mom. They were both so encouraging. Jaamal as well. He just made it so easy and just so exciting for me to get off of that plane and just meet my husband for the second time and get married. And now moving forward, Jaamal's mom and dad, I feel like we're both on really good terms. We both have really grown to love each other a lot. I would say that started more on the holidays, all of us getting together and then really getting to know me and my personality.
I think it mainly started with, I mean, it may not have seemed like it, but I think it started when, I want to say 3 months after we were married, Hannah actually drove out to go see my mom and have a face-to-face conversation.
By myself.
By herself, just them two. Again, my mom was not the happiest person in the world.
I was so scared.
My brothers made it worse. My nieces and nephews made it worse.
Oh, you about to go meet grandma.
Meet grandma.
Like,
oh, you scared? You should be scared, you know. And but I applaud her for doing that. She is absolutely amazing. From everything I heard from that conversation, I think she absolutely impressed my mom, even if my mom didn't show that she was impressed.
Yeah. And just like giving credit to his mom, we understood, and I know being a woman, like I don't have kids yet, obviously, and we don't have kids yet, but if I was a mom, I would be like, what are you doing? Like, that's my baby. Like, I don't want him going to get married this quickly to somebody I don't even know. So
Yeah,
we totally understood, and like, you know, we understood where the concern came from, and obviously she wants her son with a good woman and not just like something of lust or something, some random girl. So
yeah,
it was definitely valid. Everybody's points were super valid.
I would say on that lust factor, if you are seeking God and you're following Him wholeheartedly and you are not being abstinent, I would say you need to separate yourself from that relationship and do your best to not fall into temptation. And it really helps clear your mind on what is lust and what is love. Sex makes everything so blurred, and if you take that away, you have so much more of a clear path and clear direction. And that's really what helped me to have the confidence in myself to be like, no, I've been in college and I know what lust is. And this, though I'm very, very attracted to this woman, this is completely different than what I've experienced before. And so,
yeah, for sure. It was totally different. And just us being able to build our relationship strictly on an emotional basis versus like a sexual or anything else, just really loving each other for who each other was before sex was introduced or anything physical.
Yeah.
And so we're really grateful for that.
I mean, our first kiss was on our marriage day, so
Our marriage day.
Our marriage day, yes. We
Our
kissed
wedding day.
before we got our wedding day. We kissed before we got to the altar.
Yeah, we did. We did off the plane.
Off the plane, yeah.
Okay, so let's just talk about our trip across the country because I feel like it's getting long
I
and
know.
people really don't care that much.
Our other video was 42 minutes. We're 28.
Okay,
We're doing pretty good. This is the last
Okay,
thing.
so trip across the country.
yes.
So Jaamal flew out from California after we got married a month after. So I moved out here in September.
Ugh.
I had to like wrap up with my clientele. I'm a hairstylist, and so I had, you know, brides and people who I couldn't just say, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to do you anymore, or you leave, you know? And so I finished up my clientele. Jaamal drove out. Our parents
Flew out.
Yeah, flew out, sorry. He flew out, and then our parents threw us like a little goodbye and kind of like a mini wedding shower. And so they gave us like some stuff, and Jaamal got to meet like my aunts, my uncles, and cousins, other close family members. I would say on their side, they were just like kind of confused, but they were like, okay, like, you know, this is what she wants, so you know, we're happy. So you know, that wasn't really much of a conversation, too much.
Yeah.
And then, so going from there, I didn't bring a whole lot of stuff. I literally packed as much as I could in my little Toyota Camry, and just brought clothes, shoes, all of that kind of stuff. tried to fit some stuff that wouldn't go. Anyways, our trip.
She tried to put her whole desk inside a Toyota Camry.
I really wanted
on
that
top
desk.
of all of her clothes. Like, there's just no way. No way.
It's okay. It's okay. So I got everything I needed.
We put the bike on.
Yeah, I had to have my bike. If you could see this bike, you would understand why. It's just the cutest thing ever.
My mom has the bike now and rides the bike.
She rides it all the
every
time. She
night,
loves it.
every
Like
day.
everybody would. This bike is like, it has a cute little basket on the front and such a California style bike.
That bike gave us so much hassle
Yeah, I
driving
was like
across
so
country.
scared. I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is gonna fall off. Mind you, like where I live to San Jose, California is literally 33 hours.
What did we drove through Nebraska,
Iowa, Wyoming,
and
Utah,
Nevada. Oh yeah, Utah.
Nevada.
Nevada was last. We drove through so much just open plains and just straight for miles.
But it was
and
so
miles.
fun. So we did it in 3 days. And the third day we got to San Jose. So we only spent like 2 nights. We spent one in Nebraska. Jaamal picked the place.
Best hotel we stayed in.
It was like right downtown Nebraska.
Yes.
Just like a normal Marriott.
No, it was not. I mean, yeah, it was a normal Marriott.
Yeah,
but
it was nice.
It was really big bathroom. They had a large bathtub. We didn't use any of these amenities, of course, but
No,
I'm just
yeah,
explaining all these things because the next room that we stayed in was just.
Anyways, so the next hotel we stayed in was in Salt Lake City, and Jaamal picked the first place. I was like, oh, like he's driving now, so I drove like 11 hours. He drove all the
Why
rest.
does it keep going up? You drove like 9 to 10
No,
hours
no.
tops.
11. What is that? 2 hours? You know,
Oh.
it's 11.
Yes.
Anyways, so I was like, let me pick the next hotel, and I wanted to stay somewhere really cute and unique, and there was this place that I found just Googling. It was called like the Honeymoon Inn or something. I was like, oh, like we're married, like we're newlyweds, like let's go there. It looks so cute. They had like these giant bathtubs on like the Google pictures, and that's really all that I could see from outside. It was like daytime and it was super lit. It looked like this really cute little cottage, and so I was like, that looks perfect. And so I make the reservation. We don't get there until like 1, almost 2 in the morning. It's so late at this point, and we can't find it. It's like literally so dark. It's on the corner of this street, and it's like wrapped in like moss and trees, and it literally looks like a haunted house.
Probably was. Honestly, you know, we're covered by the blood of Jesus, so we're good. But there was just,
Yes.
I'm sure. We got there super late.
Okay, so here's the first red flag, but I didn't think anything of it. So we're on the phone, and he's like, okay, so you want to book a room for tonight for 2 people? And he was like, okay, so what theme do you want? And I was like, theme? What do you mean? I just want, you know, the normal room. And he was like, oh no, like this hotel, we have themes to the room. He's like, we have like Under the Sea, we have like Ace of Spades, we have like little, what was it, like a garden escape.
But if I would have heard all of that, I'm just trying to get us to our destination. I'm exhausted from driving. I'm just trying to get us there, and she's just, oh, well, no, I don't really want that one.
So I was like, okay, just the least theme possible, a basic room. And he was like, oh, I have the perfect one. It's called the Majestic. And I was like, oh, okay, sounds good. And so we get there to this haunted looking house, and when we get there, we finally find a parking space. We're like dragging our bags all the way into this hotel. The door is locked. We have to like call the guy, and he's like, oh, sorry, like after a certain hour we lock the door. And I'm like, all right. So we come inside, and it literally smells like an old library, like just so dusty and old. There's like this stale batch of chocolate chip cookies on the front desk, and we're just kind of looking at each other. I can just already tell like Jaamal is like, he's mad. Like he does not want to be here at this rankety dank hotel. And so, but honestly, like this place was just as much as the other hotels. I was like, oh, it's gotta be a nice place. Anyways, So he's like, okay, let me take you to your room. He grabs like this big old ring of keys, like these big giant castle looking keys. And it's basically like a mansion with all these separate rooms that they've made into like their separate hotel rooms.
Yeah.
And then, so he takes us upstairs, he takes us to our room, puts this old little key in the door and turns it. Then when we come in, like, it's like
something out of Egypt.
Yes, it's like gold and red. There's these big giant pillars. There's this ugly gold wallpaper. The pillows are like these gaudy looking dusty things. And we just take all the pillows off because I'm like just trying to like point out the highlights at this point. Like I know I messed up. So I'm like, look at the bathtub. The bathtub is huge. Like we can take a bath. Like we love baths. And so
it's 2:00 in the morning. No, I don't want to take a bath.
So anyways, we're exhausted. We obviously sleep well. Like it's a king size bed at least. And we fall asleep. The next morning we had like breakfast in bed. They served us like whatever we wanted off this menu, which was kind of nice, but the breakfast wasn't that great at all. It was kind of gross.
Yeah.
But anyways, we ended up just hitting the road from there and going all the way to San Jose through from Salt Lake. And we got there super late, just kind of kept my stuff in the car. We went inside and just crashed. And yeah, I feel like that's really it.
I drove the majority of the time.
I think you got that, you know, it's okay. Like,
Right.
I feel like you were supposed to.
Did we drive through any craziness? No, that was on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
No, that was really it.
So,
Let us know what other questions you have.
Yeah, we hope to make more videos about our marriage and just kind of different things that we struggle with, different things that we do really well in our marriage, stuff about like traditions we have, like our Monday prayer nights, just different stuff like that to be able to navigate through our relationship. All in all, we are a year and 3-4 months in, and we feel like we've been super blessed in our marriage. We feel like, you know, this was definitely ordained by God, and we really get to see kind of just what he's doing in our life, why he brought us together. Still, each and every day, we get to learn new things about each other all the time. And we're just super grateful at the end of the day that we get to have this testimony, that we get to just spread God's love and just give him glory at the end of the day. We're just so grateful.
Yeah. I mean, gotta give him praise. Have to, you know.
Alright, so our video accidentally cut off because I ran out of storage.
I don't remember what I was saying. What was I saying?
Who knows? But we just wanted to say
Prayer. Keep prayer first. That's what I was saying. Keep prayer first.
Yeah, something
You'll be
like
good.
that. So we just wanted to give an outro and just say thanks to everybody who is watching our video and who has supported our channel. And yeah, hopefully we'll make more videos. Subscribe and like, do all that kind of stuff that YouTube does. All right, bye.